Marcy, let's educate mortgage brokers and borrowers on some of the things that they can do ahead of either of refinancing or selling the property.
Correct.
Relating to cleaning up the title. I think a lot of people aren't focused on the title of their property. So why don't you tell everyone,
Sure.
you're the expert on this,
Yes.
what goes on, and if make pretend you're talking to me or someone that they should do if they're thinking about refinancing or selling the property in advance to make a smoother process.
All right, so typically what goes on with title work is, if it's a purchase, refinance, we order title work. And I'm going to start off with the purchase. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
I said here, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm thinking about something else. But maybe we work with title all the time.
Yes.
But maybe we should start by saying,
What is title work?
yes,
maybe?
in other words,
Okay.
a lot of people don't realize that on every property, there's a history of all the transactions.
Right.
Every time a
So
deed was
that's what
transferred.
Exactly.
So why don't you start with that?
All right. So
I'm sorry.
Yes,
to
no, that's a
interrupt.
good idea. All right. So let's define what title.
Let me back up. I came up with one good idea today. Can I go? It's early. It's 10. Can I go home? No, I'm joking.
You're so funny. All right, so let's talk about what title work is. On every deal, we have to see what's going on with the property, so we have to order a title policy, and the title policy protects the lender to make sure that there's clear title
Insurance.
title insurance on the property. So anything that went on with the property, if it was bought, it was sold, if there was a lien, a loan that was paid off, if there was a lien put on the property, if there's like any back taxes, or if there was any citations, or anything that's going on in the property will show up on title. So we, of course, as a lender, want to make sure we are clear title, which means that we want to make sure that we're in first position. Yes.
Okay, I feel bad. How many times am I allowed to interrupt you?
You can, because you're helping.
So it's interesting.
You've been doing this a really long time, so.
I don't think a lot of people realize that on every property, there is a public record, and it's public record. Everything that's happened to the property since really, I don't want to say the beginning of time, but for hundreds of years, especially in a lot of the older cities. Like, I'm from Philadelphia.
These properties are old. Yeah.
So believe it or not, there's a record of every sale, every mortgage, every lien, if the property was ever in foreclosure, and some of them are really interesting. There's some people who, as a hobby, trace properties in Philadelphia back to like the revolutionary periods and the founding father periods. Boston,
I'm
a lot
from
of the
Florida,
original,
so nothing's that
a lot of
old.
the original 13 colors, but it's interesting because you could see what the history of it, and on some of them, it's very interesting because there's a lot of deed restrictions. So I guess my point is for this video is all of this is public knowledge. So if you want to see, like if you want to be a newsy neighbor and see what the guy across the street, how much he paid for the house,
It's
how
all
much he
public
borrowed.
record.
30 years ago, the previous owner, whether a mortgage was released, whether there was a foreclosure, it's all public information. And today you can get a lot of it online, just sitting in a laptop.
But with that said,
So we get title insurance.
we get insurance to make sure that we're in first position. So whenever you do a loan, there's always a title agent that also acts as a dispersing agent that's going to collect everything from everyone, all the monies that are involved in the deal, and they're going to take everything into an account, and then when the loan is clear to close, they disperse out all the monies, okay? So that's also another part of what they do. They provide title insurance, and they also disperse the loans.
Title insurance, and I'm not a title expert, but what title insurance does, it protects if it's a buyer or borrower,
Right.
and the lender, all parties, that they're getting free and clear title. That nothing is going to come up on the property that they didn't know. So for example, what happens a lot is maybe there was a mortgage, in fact it happened, I heard a story this morning.
Okay.
There's a gentleman in our office who's selling his home, and he bought his home I think 32 years ago.
Okay.
He's selling it now I think next week or the week after. And the person he bought the home from 30-something years ago, his mortgage is still recorded. It was never satisfied.
Right.
And of course, no one knows how to get in touch with them. The guy could be dead.
Which is terrible because that's what happens.
Yes. So a lot of times there's unreleased things on homes,
Right.
if there's back taxes, or that's part of it. It could be zoning, it could be encroachment issues, a neighbor. Part of title is it gives what's called the meets and bounds, the legal description, what the property lines are, and you have to deal with surveys. So all of this, it's very complicated.
It's very important though, but so that's why we wanted to talk about it this morning, because for brokers or borrowers out there, it's good to know what's going on your property before you start looking for a loan, okay? Because what happens is when we get title work back from one of our borrowers, we're doing a loan, there's sometimes stuff that comes up on title that they didn't know about or that they could have started working on, because you can have a title agent and you can have a broker, you can have a lender. But at the end of the day, you know whose responsibility it is to clear title? It's the owner of the property. That's whose responsibility it is. So, we all can help as much as we can, but it's really up to the owner, the borrower, to be able to get everything needed to clear title. And when I say everything needed, this is what we're going to talk about, what can come up on title. And Jack had mentioned taxes, different liens. Most common that I see is different loans or UCCs that have not been released. Most of the time, the borrower's like, oh, that was paid off years ago. But what happens is you have to make sure that there's a release that's developed and signed and recorded, so it's off of your title. So Jack, please add some more information to that.
Thank you. So with UCCs, a UCC...
Can you please explain a UCC to everyone? Yeah.
Yes. When you borrow money on your property, and there's a difference between there's a difference and there's not a difference between a commercial and a residential. Okay. So let me talk on a residential owner-occupied loan. You borrow your mortgage or a home equity line, they're going to file a mortgage on the property. You're going to sign a mortgage and note. The mortgage is a public notice that you borrowed $100K or whatever you borrowed on the home.
Which is mostly common.
Yes.
Most people see that.
Yes. I don't know the number. I'm going to say 99% of the people, 98, 97% take mortgages. It's common. But what happens is when they pay the loan off, a lot of times that loan's not recorded. So it's not released, I'm sorry. And you have to file something with the county to make sure it's released. So when you pay off your property, make sure it's released. So I think what Marcy's saying is to pull a title or a mortgage and judgment search or look at the county records to make sure the loan is paid off beforehand, because people don't believe. We have 3 deals that are at closing now.
And I can't get them closed right
because the titles, I'll use Marcy's words, were polluted. There were old things there that need to be cleaned up. So it's a good idea to pull a title in advance, and if anything is there, to clean it up, to get it cleaned up. Now, a UCC is Uniform Commercial Code. That's more in commercial transactions. So picture you're borrowing money on equipment. I'm just going to use, you're a pizza shop and you're borrowing money on equipment. And let's say the equipment lender is lending you $50,000 for the pizza ovens or whatever. A UCC is filed not on the property, but on the LLC, and it kind of not attaches to the property, but it follows through in title, and that has to be cleared up. So if you borrowed 10 years ago, $50,000 on pizza ovens, or it could be accounts receivable, or just a general pledge of your business assets, chances are the lender filed a UCC in the county and the state where your business is. And again, if you go to refinance, borrow money, or whatever, if that was paid off, that has to be paid off. It's very prevalent in merchant cash advance loans. UCCs are filed. So they need to be cleared up as well. And that's a companion document to the title, and it affects title because you can't do another transaction with an outstanding UCC.
Right, because in the commercial loan business that we see, our loans are in an LLC. So the borrower is an LLC, it's a corporation, and that's why it shows up on title, because those UCCs was filed against the original LLC, which is our borrower. So you have to know how to get that taken care of, because it's going to have to be taken care of when you do a new loan. And this really is very, very common in refinances. That's where I see it.
So the bottom line is, before you're borrowing money, whether it be on an owner-occupied property or an investment property or whatever, it's a good idea to run a mortgage and search, bring down or updated title, get a list of everything that's outstanding,
Everything that's on your
and
title.
clean it up.
Yeah.
It's foolhardy. I think a lot of people expect somebody else to do it.
Yeah, and it's happening. I'm living it right now. I mean, I live it every day, and I want to help the borrower as much as I can, but I can't do it. It has to be the borrower.
Well, often
you know?
the professionals can help.
Sure, we can guide you.
But it stalls and it delays the closing.
Yes.
So again, I think the point of making this is borrowers, especially if you know you've had a problem. Now it gets more complex when there's lawsuits, when there's judgments, when there's foreclosures, bankruptcies. All of these things make it slightly more complex. Again, what's the expression? Measure twice, cut once.
Yeah.
Do your homework. Pull an updated mortgage and judgment search.
Right.
You can go to the original title who did it or whoever does it, and make sure you take it and make sure it's clear. And if it's not clear, figure out what you need to do to clear it up.
Right.
So when you do
so you're
go
prepared. You're very prepared.
Yes, for either a sale or a refinance.
So brokers out there, that could
what should brokers do?
Brokers, you have to have this conversation, especially if it's a refinance. I mean, I'm not talking about purchases. You have to have the conversation with the borrower because, they could be telling you, they're not even bringing it up because they don't know. So brokers, I'm giving you this advice to, as one of your questions that you're going to ask them about their title. Say, hey, do you have UCC searches, UCCs on there? Do you have any liens? Do you have any back taxes? What's going to show up on title? Like, make sure you ask that question to the borrowers because start the conversation ahead of time so that when we're going through with the loan, we're prepared to clear up title before we get to closing.
It's not only, I would say a mortgage broker should not only ask a borrower, they should see the title is clean for themselves, because you could ask a borrower.
You could be wasting your time because you can't really get them a loan.
Well, what happens a lot of times, how many times does a borrower say, I paid that loan off 10 years ago.
And then he didn't.
Well, or it was paid off, but the UCCs weren't filed.
Right.
Or the company went out of business and you can't find them. So a broker should really, if I was a broker, and I know you would too, because we've talked about this offline, pull a title, pull a mortgage and judgment search or bring down, whatever they call it in your area.
Ahead of time.
Look at it and see if it's clean. And if it's not clean, clean it up ahead of time. It's easier to clean things up when you don't have the time frame and a gun to your head, as opposed to if you have a closing at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday and you find out Monday at 5 o'clock, it's a problem. But do it weeks or months in advance and it's smoother.
Absolutely. So that's our tip for today, that really think about title insurance ahead of time. Think about your title. What is it going to look like? That's all I got.
That's all you got. Okay, check us out online. Like this on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, wherever you see it. I know title insurance is very exciting. But it's necessary. It's so stimulating and very exciting to talk about. No, it is necessary. Like the video, ask questions. Remember, we're not attorneys. We're not title insurance experts.
No, we're not experts. We're just offering our opinion.
Our friendly opinion. Leave your questions, we answer them. Most important, when your bank, I have another most important.
Yes.
Remember, when your bank says no, we say yes. Most important, have it a great day, because you can accomplish great things today. Take care.